Welcome back, Focus learners. Today, we're jumping into a truly fascinating explainer that explores the spiritual reality of the unseen. We're looking at a topic that perfectly blends ancient theology with modern, everyday life. We'll be diving into how Islamic texts view the hidden world, the incredibly strict warnings against anyone who claims to access it, and most importantly, the empowering spiritual remedies given directly to believers. So if you've ever been even a little bit curious about the mechanics of spiritual healing and where the boundaries of the unknown actually lie, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. All right, I want to start with a question that has honestly probably crossed your mind at some point. How in the world do TV astrologers, mediums, or those internet psychics seem to know your personal problems? I mean, if theology strictly dictates that absolutely nobody can predict the future, how do these horoscopes and mediums sometimes offer details that just seem way too accurate? It's a crazy paradox, and it literally tricks millions of people. But our source texts actually offer a deeply detailed, behind-the-scenes look at exactly how this illusion is pulled off. To unpack all of this, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by defining the unseen world, then we'll reveal exactly how fortune tellers work, look at the heavy cost of belief, and finally, detail the incredible power of Ruqyah and specific verses used for healing and peace. Okay, Section 1. The Unseen World. The Keys to Al-Ghaib. Before we can even begin to understand the deception of fortune-telling, we have to look at the fundamental baseline of Islamic theology. The text says, "Nobody in the heavens and the earth knows the unseen except Allah." This core Quranic tenet firmly establishes that the Creator is the absolute sole possessor of future knowledge. The keys to the unseen belong exclusively to the divine, period. That is the ultimate standard. And once you truly grasp this absolute boundary, the claims of literally any human being promising to reveal your future just instantly fall apart. And because of that firm baseline, it honestly doesn't matter what trendy aesthetic you see out there today. Whether a soothsayer is using sand reading, looking at tea leaves left at the bottom of a cup, numerology where they calculate the mystical values of your name, throwing stuff into iron pots, or shuffling tarot cards, our source material makes it explicitly clear that the method is entirely just window dressing. All of these practices fall under the exact same forbidden category of fortune-telling. It is the exact same spiritual violation regardless of how it's packaged. Moving on to Section 2. How fortune tellers work. The stolen whispers. So, since we know they definitely do not have the keys to the unseen, where are they getting their occasionally accurate information? Well, the Hadith of Abu Huraira gives us this incredibly vivid breakdown of a literal trickle-down effect of stolen whispers. It's fascinating. Step 1. Allah decrees a matter, and the angels speak of these decrees up in the clouds. Step 2. Demonic entities, or jinn, literally stand one on top of the other trying to eavesdrop on the angels. Step 3. Once a single word of truth is snatched, the jinn frantically pass it down the chain from one to the next before they get struck by heavenly fire. And finally, Step 4, that single stolen word reaches the lips of the sorcerer or the medium. But here is the absolute kicker. 100. For every single piece of stolen truth that actually manages to make it down to the earth, the devil tacks on 100 lies to it. And guys, this explains the entire psychological trap of the medium perfectly. A psychic tells you one undeniably true thing, that one stolen whisper, and because it's accurate, your brain is suddenly tricked into believing the 100 completely fabricated lies that follow it. You remember the hit, and you completely ignore the misses. Which brings us to Section 3, the cost of belief and the spiritual consequences. Understanding how this trick works is absolutely vital because engaging with it carries some massive spiritual consequences. Just look at this number, 40. According to the prophetic traditions in our sources, whoever goes to a fortune teller and just asks them something, like even just out of casual curiosity or flipping open a magazine to read a horoscope for laughs, their daily prayers will not be accepted or rewarded for 40 days. The person still has to perform the prayers, but they get zero spiritual reward for them. That is a colossal penalty just for treating the unseen as a source of casual entertainment. And this really illustrates how quickly the threat escalates. Simply asking a fortune teller out of curiosity gets you that 40-day block on your prayer rewards. But if a person actually believes what the astrologer or medium says, the consequence there is absolute. The sources state super clearly that such a person has completely disbelieved in what was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Why? Because to believe a human knows the unseen is to directly reject the core Quranic verse we looked at earlier. It's a total theological contradiction. You literally cannot hold both of those beliefs at the exact same time. Let's shift gears to the solution in Section 4. The power of Ruqyah, the Islamic antidote. Okay, so if seeking out magicians and fortune tellers for help with our unseen problems is strictly forbidden and spiritually destructive, what exactly is the believer supposed to do? The answer is ruqyah. This is the practice of spiritual healing through the recitation of the Quran and prescribed prophetic supplications. It is the divinely sanctioned, perfectly safe alternative to seeking help from the dark arts. Instead of relying on stolen whispers and 100 lies, ruqyah relies entirely on the pure, unadulterated word of the Creator. And the best part, it's an incredibly empowering practice that any believer can easily learn and apply themselves. The faith beautifully balances very real threats with very direct cures. It doesn't gaslight you. Islamic theology openly acknowledges dangers like black magic, the destructive envy of the evil eye, and demonic whispers, also known as waswasa, which cause intense mental and spiritual distress. But it definitely doesn't leave the believer defenseless. The direct cure includes powerful Quranic chapters like Surah Al-Fatiha, verses like Ayat al-Kursi, and specific daily supplications of protection. It gives you a direct, accessible remedy that doesn't require a middleman or a psychic.
Let's break down those cures a bit more in Section 5, Verses of Healing and Peace, specifically Shifa, Sakina, and Hark.
Within the actual practice of ruqyah, the recitations aren't just thrown together randomly. The sources categorize them based on the specific spiritual needs of the person who is struggling. First up, we have Shifa. These are Quranic verses explicitly focused on curing. When a person is dealing with physical ailments that actually have a spiritual root or a direct spiritual sickness itself, Shifa verses are recited. They act as a direct, soothing spiritual medicine, drawing right from the Quran's own description of itself as a healing for what is in the hearts. Next, we have Sakina, and these verses are just deeply profound. They are specifically focused on bringing profound peace, tranquility, and removing intense anxiety and fear from the heart. Often, spiritual afflictions come with a lot of heavy mental distress, paranoia, and just a general loss of safety. So, Sakina verses are invoked to really settle the soul, reminding the believer of divine presence and protection, and effectively neutralizing the sheer panic that's often associated with the unseen. And then things get a bit more intense with Hark. These verses are fiercely protective. They are focused on punishing, burning, and destroying malevolent entities or active black magic. While Shifa heals the victim, Hark is used by the reciter to aggressively break malicious spells and curse the oppressive actions of magicians and the entities they use. It is essentially the spiritual equivalent of fighting back against an intruder. So practically speaking, what should be your main takeaway from all of this? There is a highly effective framework of essential Ruqyah chapters, Surah Al-Fatiha, Ayat al-Kursi, and the last 3 chapters of the Quran, Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and An-Nas. The absolute beauty of this framework is how incredibly accessible it is. You don't need to go pay some mysterious figure sitting in a dark, incense-filled room. These are chapters that most practicing Muslims already have memorized for their daily prayers. Our sources heavily emphasize that routinely reciting these exact chapters with firm conviction is the absolute greatest personal protection you can establish for yourself. I want to wrap up this explainer with an incredibly powerful prophetic supplication. We seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah from the evil of what He has created. It really all comes down to where you choose to seek your safety. Are you going to seek it in the tea leaves, the tarot cards, and the 100 lies of the fortune teller? Or do you seek it in the perfect words of the Creator? The next time you see a horoscope pop up on your feed or hear a psychic's bold prediction, just ask yourself, who holds the true keys to the unseen? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, Focus Learners. Until next time, stay curious and stay protected.